He looks fat.
It's about I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Being able to run as he shoots the moon to the fans here in Green Bay.
That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Stop from the gun to the touchdown. Come back.
This is BS Sports.
And away we go. Away we go. Welcome in on a Tuesday evening. Oh boy. On the final Tuesday, the final show before Christmas. I know we'll still have one more show after Christmas, and one more show for the calendar year. But this is the first show, or the last show, before Christmas. So if I forget to, I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. Hope you spend time with family and friends and give gifts and get gifts. And hopefully your team doesn't ruin it this weekend, as I'm hoping the Lions don't ruin it for me this weekend. But we got a great show. We got to talk about the Lions bouncing back in a Saturday night blowout to the Denver Broncos. We got a whole week of NFL stuff to talk about. The Eagles are dead in the water. The Cowboys get their shoes knocked off, and many more things. I also have a Pistons angle that I don't think I've seen anybody take. As the Pistons last night lose their 24th straight game, I decided to do a little bit of stats research, a little bit of investigation. We're gonna get to that a little bit later in the show, but it's kind of weird actually tonight, because tonight is a day where, strangely enough, not a single one of the teams that I root for is actually playing right now. So I'm wearing the Red Wings hat. Usually, and if you are paying attention to the details, usually I wear the hat of at least one of the teams that, if there are multiple of my teams that are playing, like sometimes the Wings and the Pistons or Michigan State basketball or whatever are playing on the same night. I usually wear in accordance with that. I'm just wearing this because the Wings play the soonest relative to the other teams. They play tomorrow. But anyway, let's get into this Lions victory, because this was I don't know if I said it on the stream, but this to me was the best Lions win of the season. And I don't want to seem like it's just recency bias. It was from top to bottom against a team that, look, are the Broncos amazing? Clearly not. But the Broncos are fighting for their season. It's not what we were playing. Like, when we played this kind of game against the Panthers, right? Early in the season, the Panthers were clearly not a good team, clearly in a rebuild mode, clearly trying to develop a new quarterback in Bryce Young. This is a team in the Denver Broncos that we're going into that game with the expectation that they can pull off a win. They had won, I think, 6 in a row or something, or not 6 in a row, 6 of their last 7, something like that. Like, they were red hot, and they were ready for us. We had come off of, an awful week before losing to the Bears, and we just come into this game, and we just pants Russell Wilson and Sean Payton and all them in front of everybody on national television, on the NFL Network. Anybody who was watching that game watched as the Denver Broncos were decimated on offense and on defense. So let's break it down, shall we? First point I want to talk about here. Goff played easily his best game of the season. 278 yards, 5, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 passing touchdowns for Goff. He had a quarterback rating of 76.2 on ESPN. Not a single interception. Was 24 for 34. Just 10 incompletions on the night for Jared Goff. He was hitting basically everybody. He hit Sam Laporta 3 times for 3 touchdowns. He hit Amon-Ra St. Brown for a touchdown. He hit Jahmyr Gibbs for a touchdown. I mean, he was hitting everybody. It was like every single guy he threw the ball to. Like even Jamison Williams had 4 receptions for 47 yards. Like everybody was getting the ball from Jared Goff. So the question then becomes, do you pay him? And this has sort of been a debate going on as the year goes. Now, again, the Lions have Goff until at least next year. So next year he's still under contract. We don't have to pay him at least until the end of next season. Obviously, if he has a career year, which he seems to be having, if he wins the division, which is very possible, especially if we win on Sunday. I think certainly if we win on Sunday, we win the division, but you still have to play the games. And if he wins the division, if he wins a playoff game, it will be a home playoff game because you win the division. It's going to be pretty hard to say that this guy is not your quarterback for at least the next 5-6 years. I mean, look, I know that he's not going to get any younger. He's, I believe, 29 years old, so he's going to be entering into his 30s, and players tend to deteriorate and entering into their 30s. But, I mean, is this guy, showing signs of imminent regression? Not really. Certainly not with this O-line. He hasn't shown really any major concerns outside of the turnovers over the last couple of weeks here. But it's like, what guy are we going to get, I guess, is the more important question I should be asking, and asking of the people. What guy do we expect to get? And I think it's more him playing like this. Now, obviously, he's not going to throw 5 touchdowns every week, but him playing at a competent level, 200-plus passing yards, 250-plus passing yards, 2 to 3 touchdown throws, not turning the ball over at an alarming rate. I think that's the Jared Goff you're going to get, especially with a healthy O-line, which we had this week. As far as whether I think you should pay him, again, if and only if we win this division, we win the home playoff game, and or go on a playoff run, I mean, those are my criteria. So I'm not going to pay him by the end of the regular season. That's just not going to happen. I don't even know if those sorts of things can happen. I think they technically can happen at any point, but I'm not going to do that then. But I certainly will do it, if, we make it to the NFC Championship. Please, I'll absolutely do it if we win the Super Bowl. I mean, that's not even a question. If we win the Super Bowl, he's going to pay whatever he wants. Everybody on the roster is going to pay whatever they want. So, yeah, I think the more you look at it, the more you're like, you know what? This guy's got chemistry with our receivers. He's got a great O-line. He seems to like it here. He's got a great offensive coordinator. He's got a great head coach. He's got a GM who believes in him and will build around him and will add pieces to his weapon room in the form of guys like Sam Laporta, guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, guys like even Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown to go back a couple of drafts. Jared Goff is in an ideal situation with the Lions. And I think if you were to just pluck him and put him in Atlanta or put him in, pick a team, the Saints, the Raiders, he certainly would not have much success. He'd probably look a lot like how he looked in 2021, where he was just you didn't really know what you were gonna get. He had a couple of receivers he had some decent chemistry with, but you just weren't all there. And no, I mean, like as time has gone, as he got a good OC, as he got more weapons, as his O-line continued to develop and get better, he has turned into the guy. And I think down the stretch here, again, if he can have that division win and playoff win and or playoff run, regardless of division win and all that, what have you, he's going to be the guy. And I think a lot of people are just going to have to deal with it. He's not going to run around like Lamar Jackson. He's not going to throw bombs like Patrick Mahomes, but he's going to win you a lot of games. I mean, this is the first time the Lions have won double digits since 2014. Like we're talking a decade ago at this point, of including Matthew Stafford with Calvin Johnson, including, Jim Caldwell. So this is somewhat unprecedented territory for Lions fans, at least unprecedented since a decade. But the other point I want to talk about this game was the defense. The defense was absolutely fantastic. You held Russell Wilson 18-32, 223 yards, and just one touchdown. Here are some team stats for you, okay? On third down, the Broncos were 5 for 13. That's less than half, folks, for those of you who don't know math. Less than half the time you were getting off the field or stopping them on third down. Now, granted, they were 2 for 2 on fourth down, but I think most of those were short yardage situations. As far as total yards, you gave up just 287. I mean, that's that I can live with. Time of possession, they had the ball for less than 30 minutes. In the first half alone, let me pull it up. Here are their possessions, okay? Fumble, punt, end of half. After that, it was touchdown, field goal, punt, touchdown, end of game. Now, you look at the second half and you're like, wow, that's a lot worse than, but look, that's 17 total points and a half, right? Like, at that point, the game was over because the offense was just cooking. And that's all you ask of the defense, is help the offense get the opportunity to put games away quickly. I mean, the game was 20, what was it? It was 21-0 at the half. Now, Denver was going to get the ball back. So the game was not over at that point. And Denver, to their credit, stormed back in the second half and scored a touchdown, but the offense just did not let up. As far as top performance on this defense, I don't know if anybody expected this. Ifeatu Melifonwu, have a game, son. I mean, 9 total tackles, 6 of them solo. He had a sack. He had a couple of passes deflected. He knocked the ball out of that Russell Wilson hit that was the fumble recovered by Isaiah Buggs in the first possession. Melifonwu played like the starting safety, as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'm not saying that you definitely got to keep him in, but hey, if this is the guy we're going to get, just put him in. Like, our defense looked way better with him playing the safety and with Aaron Glenn, like, actually getting creative and limiting, Russell Wilson's running ability. I don't think Russell Wilson ran for a single first down. And look, did Russell Wilson escape the pocket? Yeah, he does that. But Russell Wilson could not complete a pass for most of the first quarter. Like, our DBs were on their receivers like white on rice, knocking the balls out, getting hits immediately, tackling guys as soon as they catch the ball. They were forced to dunk and dime, especially given the fact that we went up 21-0. Like, it was to the point where the defense was able to take advantage of that desperation. And Aaron Glenn, to his credit, figured out that was what the offense was. The offense was in this weird situation where they were like, okay, we got to have a big play. We got to have a big play. And that put the pressure on them. And Aaron Glenn was bringing blitzes from everybody. I mean, you had Alex Anzalone, he had a TFL. You had Melifonwu. I just said he had the sack. You had Josh Pascal with a couple of TFLs and a sack. I mean, like, on top of the fact that you were already hitting the quarterback, 8 QB hits. Russell Wilson was not comfortable all night. And that's short of getting a bunch of sacks. Getting a bunch of QB hits goes a long way, especially for a quarterback who has regressed since leaving his original team in Seattle. Like, it was, that first half was pretty much a masterclass. And I'm not even really that upset about the second half because, look, 17 points and a half, I'll take that. That's not, for one, that's not a lot. And secondly, you were up 21-0. Like even if you didn't score the rest of the game, you still would have won the game with that defensive performance. You could have not had the offense go on the field at all and just, cut off the time that they were on the field and so on. But just let the Bronco offense score the points they were going to score, and it wouldn't have mattered. That's how good the defense was this Saturday. And there was I think there was the one pass interference penalty on Alex Anzalone that wasn't good. But the thing about that play was Russell Wilson likes to do this where he'll just lob a ball up, basically just an arm punt. And it's like easily going to draw pass interference, right? Because ball's up in the air for far too long. DBs, linebackers, whoever you have against a guy in coverage is probably going to make some contact. And if a referee is feeling good or feeling not good, depending on your persuasion, he's going to throw the flag. So that was basically the only thing. And I think there was the long third and 12 that they gave up at the beginning of the second half that I wish they would have not given up. But look, you had guys who I'm like, who? Khalil Dorsey, the special teams return man, he was making plays. Jalen Reeves-Maybin had a couple of tackles. Isaiah Buggs, again, he was playing pretty well. You had Brian Branch knocking balls out of the air, getting to the quarterback. Kirby Joseph nearly had an interception. You had Jack Campbell, another solid 5-tackle game from him, one of them solo. Alex Anzalone continues to just be an absolute animal. The irony is, this was kind of an off day for Hutchinson. Hutchinson, he had just 4 tackles for three of them solo, to his credit. That a lot of them are solo, but he didn't have a TFL, didn't have anything. But the rest of the defense got to it. And also to Hutchinson's credit, he deflected the ball and he hit the quarterback. This defense, if this is the kind of defense we can expect going down the stretch, it's a very good chance this team goes undefeated for the rest of the season. Very, very good chance. And I hope that Josh Pascal, especially because he was a second-round pick the first year that Brad got here. He was here before Hutchinson, but he came in injured, and he has never really shown anything. But this was a Josh Pascal game. He had a couple of big tackles in the first half, including a sack. If we can get Josh Pascal to be that kind of player, game in and game out, and help out Aiden Hutchinson on this D-line, look, this defense can do a lot of good things. We'll just say that. Thirdly, Jameson Williams. I briefly talked about it. Jameson Williams had 4 catches for 48 yards or 47 yards. He had a long of an 18-yarder. He made some really nice catches. There was a few of those plays where, or at least one of them, where he had to climb the ladder and make the catch. And I got to say, I was a little surprised because, the thing about him that even Campbell pointed out is he really didn't have elite hands. He could have fooled me based on his performance on Saturday. He looked like he had elite hands, jumping up in the air, making a contested catch, and then a fantastic play on a 2nd and long, catching a short pass, and you think he's going to get pushed out of bounds, jukes the defender, picks up the first down. That's the kind of play that you want to see from a guy like Jameson Williams, where he's not just basically a deep ball threat. He's not just, whatever, we'll just chuck it deep and hope J-Mo can connect with it. No, it's like he can be utilized in short field situations. You can throw the ball to him in stride. He can be off to the races. And I really hope they continue to utilize him because he actually had a positive impact in this game. When you have the third most receiving yards on the team in a victory of 42 to 17. Hey, you made an impact. He was the only thing he would have been short. He was short of was a touchdown. That's the only other thing I could have asked. And it was the other thing that I've heard people point out, it wasn't just, trick plays. It wasn't just, chucking it deep. It was different situations where Goff was actually I'll throw it to this guy. And they're developing that trust. There's a few times that Goff missed him or he missed Goff. I don't know. overthrow, underthrow. It's not exactly foolproof. Like, it's hard to tell sometimes, but it's still a positive sign of Jameson Williams' development, and the fact that the coaching staff, namely Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell, are trying to get him more involved in traditional wide receiver ways, right? Like, not just, running a motion, handoff, trick play, fun stuff. But with that, move on to my final point here about this game, and that is Sam Laporta is the next great tight end in this league. We're talking Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski, George Kittle, Mark Andrews caliber good. This kid is unbelievable. He had 5 catches for 56 yards, 3 touchdowns. I don't know how it seems like he's always able to get open. He's practically 100%. He was 5 for 6. He dropped 1 ball. Like he had 1 incompletion that was targeted to him, and I think it was an overthrown. I think it was like intentional. I don't even remember it. So that's usually a good sign. Sam Laporta is an absolute animal, and the fact that we were able to get this guy in the second round is just proof that you don't need to pay tight ends, like TJ Hawkinson, first round tight ends. You don't need to do that. Like, short of a, I'm trying, who's the guy out of Georgia? Brock Bowers-esque player. Short of someone like that, you can find high caliber, top 10, elite, whatever you want to call them, tight ends anywhere in the draft. Anywhere. And look, especially from the University of Iowa. I mean, you got Hawkinson, you got Kittle, and now you got Laporta. Like, we're talking, this is just tight end university. I mean, like, seriously, I don't know what they do at the University of Iowa to develop these tight ends to be pros, especially given the fact that Iowa's offense is always awful. Like, the fact that they had, at any given point, TJ Hawkinson, George Kittle, and Sam Laporta, at any given point in their time, and they have not even won a single Big Ten. Like that's, I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, you have arguably the best tight end in the conference seemingly every other year, and just don't do anything with it. I don't know. It's Iowa's problem, I guess. But that's enough of the Lions game. Previewing next week. Look, Minnesota is down to, what is it, Nick Mullins? Is that they're starting a quarterback? I don't even know what the guy's name is. Cedric Bagoo? I don't even know. Look, I think it's on the road, so those games are never easy. It's on the road, a divisional opponent, but obviously on a dome, so you don't have to deal with the elements. I do think that this game is not going to be like a blowout. I don't think it's going to be like Saturday night, although I wish it would be. That would be terrific. But I do think it's probably going to be a little bit closer. However, it really is dependent on how the defense performs. So this defense, even last year, has the ability to shut down Justin Jefferson in a weird way. Like last year, the first time we played them, Justin Jefferson was like a non-factor, which was weird because we lost the game. But look, I think that right now this team's feeling good. Obviously, they're going to be going on the road. They know that if they win this game, they win the division for the first time ever. Like as in the NFC North. The Lions have won the division before when it was the NFC Central in 93 was their last division title. Looking it up. Hold on. Let's take a look. When was their last division title? It was 1993. Yeah, that's right. Back in 1993, that was their last division title. Prior to that, their last division title was 91. So they actually won the division twice in the 90s. That's crazy. That must have been a good time to be a Lions fan, minus the lack of playoff success. But this is a chance for us to do it. And I think right now it's not like it was last year or even in prior years where the Lions were good, where you had to rely on other teams losing. It's like, no, we're sitting in first place. All we have to do is do our job. We beat the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday. we clinch the division, we clinch a home playoff game, and we clinch the 3 seed. All in one fell swoop. like that is the goal, obviously. And it's kind of unfathomable. I mean, I went into this season expecting that was going to be the case. I said we were going to win 12 games and win the division. But the fact that it's like we're 2 wins away from doing that, and we still have to play the Vikings twice as well as the Cowboys on the road, is wild. It's nuts. And even thinking back of the fact that we have games like that we played that we should have or could have won. I think back to that week 2 against the Seahawks. That's a game we probably should have won. Or against the Bears the second time. That's a game we absolutely should have won. Or against the Packers the second time on Thanksgiving. That's a game we probably should have won. Or at least we could have won. Not that we should have won. Like, it's one of those things where, like, obviously in the NFL you're going to lose games. It's just going to happen. But the more that you think this team is getting hot at the right time, hopefully. And if they can go out the rest of the month and win, that we might have something special. We'll just leave it at that. But moving on to the rest of the NFL, I got a few stories. Actually, I got a decent amount of stories. This is kind of a crazy week in the NFL. So the first story, got to talk about the Chargers. Thursday Night Football. I rarely actually get to talk about the Thursday night game because it's usually so terrible. And this game was no different. The Chargers played, in my humble opinion, one of the single worst Thursday Night Football games I've ever seen. Let me just point this out in the numbers, okay? So the score ended 63-21. And just a few interesting points here. You have Aiden O'Connell throwing for 248 yards, which is not that much. 4 touchdowns. You had Jacoby Myers throw for a touchdown. You had Zamir White run for a touchdown. You had Brandon Bowden run for a touchdown. You had Devontae Adams catch a touchdown. You had Trey Tucker catch 2 touchdowns. You had Michael Mayer catch a touchdown. You had Jacoby Myers catch a touchdown. Then you also had Jack Jones with a pick 6. And you had John Jenkins with a touchdown. I want to say that was a fumble interception or fumble turn back for a touchdown. I don't remember how that one was. But you had 2 defensive touchdowns. You had 5. Hold on. How many touchdowns? You had 7 total touchdowns. Or 7 offensive touchdowns. Obviously 9 total touchdowns because 63. Like, that's the thing. They didn't kick a field goal. They got 63 points from touchdowns alone. And the Chargers didn't score until the 3rd quarter. And then the only quarter they outscored the Raiders was the 4th quarter when the Raiders were up at that point. Let me even do the math. 21 plus 21 is 42 plus 14 is 56. So 50, they were up 56-0. Is that right? Yeah, I guess that's right. They were up 56-0 essentially when in the quarter that entering the quarter that the Chargers ended up outscoring them. And I mean, look, the irony is Easton Stick actually threw for more yards than Aiden O'Connell. He had 3 interceptions, or he had 3 touchdowns, I should say. Like, on paper, you look at the day Easton Stick had, and you're like, oh, okay, it wasn't that bad. I mean, he had a 29.8 rating because you get sacked 3 times, and all of those points were put up in garbage time. But like, this to me epitomizes the Chargers. And at first, as soon as this game ended, I was like, this has to be the end for Brandon Staley. There is no way, absolutely no way you keep a guy like Brandon Staley after a loss like that. It reminded me of Thanksgiving, final season of Matt Patricia as the head coach, and the Lions got smoked by the Houston Texans. Hold on. Let me see if I can find that game. Lions, Texans, 2020. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, 41-25. If I can even get a summary of this game, because I'm pretty sure it was they were up 23-14 at the half. So, I mean, it wasn't like a blowout. It wasn't as embarrassing as that. But I want to say it was basically like they were just scoring every single drive essentially. The Lions were actually up in this game. And actually they were up 14 or they were up 7-6 after a pick six, and then a fumble, and then a touchdown, fumble, touchdown, and Houston it was 23-14 at the half, and you thought maybe, and then after that I think they scored on 1, 2, 3 drives in a row, 1 field goal, 2 touchdowns. Like, it was bad. I don't mean to go down the rabbit hole. The game was several years ago at this point. I don't mean to go down that rabbit hole, but it reminded me of that game. And after that game, they ended up firing the GM and Matt Patricia, and the Chargers and Dean Spanos, I guess to his credit, did the same thing. Literally the day after, they fired Tom Telesco, the GM, and Brandon Staley after the loss, according to Bleacher Report. Here is this. Hold on. I actually did not read this. This is a statement from Dean Spanos. So we'll read this aloud to the class. I want to thank Tom and Brandon for their hard work, dedication, and professionalism, and wish both of them and their great families nothing but the best, said owner and chairman of the board, Dean Spanos. These decisions are never easy, nor are they something I take lightly, especially when you consider the number of people they impact. We are clearly not where we expect to be. However, we need new vision. Doing nothing in the name of continuity was not a risk I was willing to take. Our fans have stood strong through so many ups and downs and close games. They deserve more. Frankly, they've earned more. Building and maintaining a championship caliber program remains our ultimate goal, and reimagining how we achieve that goal begins today. I've seen my fair share of owner speak, and that's exactly what this is. Dean Spanos is one of the most crooked, most unreliable owners in all the NFL. This guy is a total clown. He has done nothing to help the Chargers, quote, build and maintain a championship caliber program. Like, the idea sure, maybe that is your ultimate goal, but for that being your ultimate goal, you certainly have run away from that. Like, you have not proven that you are able to do that. And I just hate the fact that he's talking about our fans. Oh, you mean the fans that you ran away from? You mean those fans, Dean? I'm sorry. I wish Seth was here to hear this, because this is just rich coming from Dean Spanos and that garbage ownership. Look, I wish nothing but the best for the Chargers. Obviously, Seth being a Chargers fan, I want the Chargers to succeed. I really do. They're one of the teams that just they have so much talent. They have a great history of talent, but they just never put it together, and they just seem to find different ways to lose games. And especially with the fact of them moving, I mean, I feel like all of those really dedicated Chargers fans that are stuck in San Diego, that can't see their team anymore, and even the Chargers fans that exist in Los Angeles, like, they deserve better. So I hope that this is the beginning of a new era. It was probably one of the darker areas in Charger history with Brandon Staley and general manager Tom Telesco. But you're starting fresh, and you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do with Justin Herbert. I think he's your guy. Obviously, you paid him like he's your guy, so you're not moving on from him. So you have a pretty good start at your rebuild with your franchise quarterback and an incredibly talented quarterback in Justin Herbert. So we'll see if they can do it, but I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of hope in the Spanoses. So meanwhile, the Bengals and the Vikings on Saturday played an overtime thriller. This was a great game overall. Like, this wasn't the prettiest game. Like, it wasn't, the most amazing game. But once again, the Vikings, with all the chances in the world to win this game, and they blow it in overtime. I mean, I appreciate it, Cincy. Y'all came through for us. Nick Mullins, that's this guy's name. I don't know what I said before, but Nick Mullins weirdly had a decent game. He threw for 303 yards and a couple of touchdowns, as well as a couple of interceptions, but he was also sacked 3 times. I mean, it wasn't like, he you're not feeling good about it. And Jake Browning, I mean, I kind of joke, but like, wait a minute, is this guy actually like a good quarterback? Like, I'm not saying he's, elite, but you throw for 324 yards and a couple of touchdowns and just one pick. You got my attention. So I don't know. I mean, I think the Bengals are certainly not moving on from Joe Burrow. They just paid him all that money. And some people have been making the jokes of like, oh, Jake Brady. This is Joe Burrow is Bledsoe. He's getting Bledsoed right now. Jake Browning might steal his job. I don't think that's the case. I mean, Jake Browning has, seen a few teams at this point. It's not like Tom Brady, who was, a late round pick. He had never played with any other team. There wasn't I think if more time is given, Jake Browning will start to come back down to earth. And he's playing for a really good team with a nice receiver room. I mean, you got Joe Mixon running the ball. You got Jamar Chase, obviously. You got T. Higgins. You got Tyler Boyd. I mean, he's got a lot of weapons. And he's in a pretty good situation with a solid coach as well. So as far as what this means for the rest of the league, well, for one, I think it means that the Vikings are pretty much done. But the Bengals, man, I mean, they are right there in it. They're right there in it in that playoff push, man. I'm just saying. I'm not Joe Burrow's not coming back. But this Bengals team, they can play spoiler. Let's see. Who do they have the rest of the season? Let's take a look. They got the Steelers on the road. They got the Chiefs on the road. The Steelers on the road, I think they can win that game. Chiefs on the road, though, they could play a little bit of spoiler in that game. No doubt about it. And then you end the season with the Browns at home. Hey, man, there's a very, very good chance they win out. They could go 11-6, and that would all but guarantee a playoff spot for them. I'm just saying. They're a sneaky team, and I wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs. There's something about Jake Browning. I don't trust it. I don't like it in one bit. Speaking of not liking it one bit, Panthers fans, you can rejoice. You won a football game. And I am not breaking down any of the stats in this game because I don't want to horribly ruin the love of football for anybody. This game ended in a score of 9-7. Carolina won a football game without scoring a single touchdown. The leading passer in the game was Bryce Young, who passed for 167 yards. 1.5 fields length of passing yards in this game. Very not good performance by either team. The Falcons, I'm honestly a little surprised that Arthur Smith is still hired. I figured after losing that game, I guess, again, technically speaking, the Falcons aren't out of it. They're still alive somehow. They're 6-8, so it's becoming a little bit more difficult. I think they basically have to win out in order to win the division. But it's not a real possibility. I mean, they got the Colts at home. I wouldn't say that's an easy game, but having it at home certainly benefits you. You got the Bears on the road. That's not a good team in Chicago. That could pull off a win there. And then you got the Saints on the road to, potentially win the division. I'm not saying it's possible, but I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like it's too improbable. If I was the owner, I would have fired Arthur Smith at this point. They clearly don't want to use all of those weapons that they have. They don't want to use Bijan. They don't want to use Kyle Pitts. They didn't want to use Calvin Ridley when he was there. To be fair, yeah, the gambling suspension. But still, it just why the Falcons have such an interesting group of guys of just nice. Cordero Patterson as well. I'm pretty sure he's still. I don't know if he's hurt. I haven't heard his name called that much, so he might be hurt. I could be mistaken on that, but. Clearly, Desmond Ridder's not the guy. They're going back to Taylor Heineke, who should have been playing quarterback all season. Arthur Smith is offense cancer. Drake London. Oh, that's another one. Drake London. They actually got this guy high in the draft. Old USC guy, catching balls from Caleb Williams. I think the Falcons, if they were smart, which it doesn't appear that they are, if they were smart, they would move on from Desmond Ridder, move on from Arthur Smith. They'd draft a quarterback in this draft. This is a very, very loaded quarterback class. A lot of really nice prospects. Certainly, you'd take one of them over Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke. Like, I'd take a risk on a Sam Hartman over, running it back with Ridder. Certainly. I remember when Desmond Ridder was like one of the oh, this is going to be the next, this guy, he's one of the best college quarterbacks. And it's just like in the pros, he just sucks. Like, he's just so bad. But man, Atlanta, how do you lose to the Panthers, man? How do you do that? Meanwhile, just a couple more points. Couple more things I want to cover. How about them Cowboys? I mean, come on. Isn't it just a beautiful thing? And when Christmas comes early, man. When Christmas comes early and the Dallas Cowboys get embarrassed on the road to the Buffalo Bills? Oh? I didn't mean to do the Tim Allen, not Tom Allen. Tom Allen is the guy from American Psycho. I think that's the guy from American Psycho. But, okay, in all seriousness, not to just troll the Cowboys. Look, this was a game that I think sort of had to happen in a way. Like, not that they had to get blown out, but I think this was a game that it was potential for them to lose. Now, I did end up picking them to win just because I didn't really trust in the Bills in general, but this was a weird game when you actually look at the stats. Josh Allen threw for less than 100 yards. This was one of Josh Allen's, in a way, one of his worst games. 94 yards, just one touchdown, running for 24 yards. So he had a total of, what is that, like 110 yards, like, attributed to him. Like, and granted, he had a rushing touchdown in there, so he had a couple of touchdowns on the day. But, like, this was the James Cook game, basically. The James Cook who ran for 179 yards. That is 1.5 field lengths and then some, or 1 3/4 field lengths. That is astronomical. Amazing. Like, if we want to know how to beat the Cowboys at this point, I think the Bills might have given us a blueprint. Run the football, which makes me feel a lot better when the Lions have to play the Cowboys in a couple of weeks, because we have arguably one of, if not the best running back room in the league with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery in our backfield, combined with our offensive line. So, look, this was just a blowout for the Bills. And I think the Bills got to feel great about this because it keeps their season alive, for one. And look, the Bills, similar to the Bengals, that's a team that I don't want to play in the playoffs because right now they're starting to get hot. They're starting to feel good about themselves. And a big win over a really nice team in the Cowboys, that's going to go a long way for them, especially this late in the season. Now, as far as the Cowboys, again, like I said before, I think this is a bit of a correction game for them. I think this is a game where, look, in the NFL, good teams do these things. I mean, look, the Lions just did it. The Lions last week on the road against the Bears, they lay an egg. They look awful. Prescott looked terrible. You know, Pollard couldn't run the ball. CeeDee Lamb, did you even play? I mean, he caught seven balls for 53 yards. But you know what I mean? Like, nothing was working. The defense looked terrible. They just couldn't get anything going. And that's going to happen in the NFL. And it's really about what the Cowboys do in response to this. Because I've danced this dance before with the Dallas Cowboys where they'll play games like this and they'll get into the playoffs. They'll maybe host the game and then they just get smacked around or they do something stupid and they just get exposed. And everybody's happy because everybody loves to see the Cowboys lose. But, I mean, at a certain point, it does kind of get a little tiring seeing the Cowboys lose. Although it doesn't get it gets tiring in the sense that I feel sorry for a guy like Dak Prescott or CeeDee Lamb or any of the guys on the team. Like, I don't hate the players. The fans, it never really gets tiring seeing the fans get miserable. That never gets tiring to me. But I do think they correct themselves. I mean, look, who do they got down the stretch? I don't think it's like super easy, but yeah, I mean, it's like they got the Dolphins on the road next week. It's not an easy game. I mean, the Dolphins obviously going to have a much bigger advantage at home in December than on the road. They got the Lions at home, obviously. That's going to be a primetime game. Lions, by the way, undefeated in primetime, so that doesn't bode well for the Cowboys. And then they have the Commanders to end the season. So, I mean, Do I think they could get 2 out of 3 wins there? Yeah, definitely. I think there's a good chance they could get 3 wins out of that. I think when you start to panic is if they get 1 win or no wins. Like that would be like if they lose to the Dolphins and they lose to the Lions, but they beat the Commanders. Yeah, I don't think people are going to feel good about that. They have already clinched a playoff spot, so they don't technically need to win a game. They're going to be playing for the Super Bowl. But you need some confidence if you're Dallas. You need to show that this is a different Dallas team, that you're finally going to be able to do it. But moving along to the final game of the week, literally and of the breakdown, Seattle and Philly played a really solid Monday night game. I don't know if this is just like oh my gosh, you can just see the win probability drop. Oh, Philly. Oh, what an absolute collapse. Now, it wasn't 99.9%, but it was in the upper 90s. I mean, my goodness. 91.3% is as high as it was. Goodness gracious. And you lose a game like that. Look, for Philly, I got a couple of questions for you. Number one, why are you letting Matt Patricia call your defense? I mean, look, I've seen it. I know what it's like, okay? You had a lead in the late fourth quarter. All you needed was one stop. And you know what Seattle did? They just marched down the field, burned away that clock, and then Drew Lock threw a dime to Jackson Smith-Njigba, a rookie wide receiver. He threw a dime, and for 20 yards, got a touchdown. And then you got the ball one last time, and Jalen Hurts does that thing that he's been doing a lot in these games where they get close, and you got to rely on him to march down the field. Threw an interception to lose the game. 2 interceptions, no touchdown for Hurts. I mean, look, you've lost 3 straight, Philly. Like, this is borderline. Like, I don't like using the word fraudulent generally. In the case that the team has won games in convincing ways most of the time. Like, the only time I would use fraudulence and have it actually be a thing was last year's Minnesota Vikings, where they were literally like they were winning games in like the weirdest ways possible, like with the Bills fumbling on their own goal line. I mean, like winning games in like ways that are literally it doesn't make any sense. I don't know that this Eagles team is that. I do think that this Eagles team is getting exposed a little bit. I think that defense is incredibly overrated at this point. The D-line is solid. I mean, obviously, Jordan Davis, what? Geez, I'm blanking on some of the guys' names. I mean, Jalen Rieger? No. What's his name? Why am I blanking on the guy's name? Why am I blanking on your name? Jalen Carter. There's too many Jalen's in this league. Yeah, Jalen Hurts, got Jalen Jones. I don't know. There's a lot of Jalen's. I get confused. Jalen Carter. I mean, you got dogs. You got dogs on there. You got Shaq Leonard. You got animals down there. But this secondary, it looks like a Matt Patricia secondary. I'll tell you that much. It looks like Darius Slay's biggest nightmare, it's kind of ironic that Darius Slay left the Lions, goes to Philly, and obviously is an incredible DB outside of Matt Patricia's system. And now he's right back in it with Matt Patricia's system. Like, and granted, not the head coach, but still the defensive coordinator. So, look, for the Eagles, if your defense is going to struggle this bad, you can't have this struggling of an offense. DeAndre Swift got the majority of carries, and he ran for 74 yards. Not terrible, but like this is just the DeAndre Swift that I grew to know and hate with the Lions, where he just would not do a whole lot for you. Like he had one nice play for 11 yards. And outside of that, he's really not all that reliable. I hate it because I think DeAndre Swift is a competitor. I think he's Georgia Bulldog. I think he's a solid player, but he just doesn't do it for you. Doesn't do it for you. Well, like when your leading rusher is your quarterback, you got a problem in your running back room. Like usually it's usually the case. And Jalen Hurts needs to figure it out. I mean, 143 yards and no touchdowns and 2 picks. That coming off of last year where you could have won the MVP if not for Patrick Mahomes being Patrick Mahomes. I mean, goodness gracious. You got to figure it out, Jalen. Because it's not for lack of weapons. You telling me you don't have A.J. Brown's not a weapon? Dallas Goedert, not a weapon? Devontae Smith, not a weapon? Heck, DeAndre Swift and Julio Jones are on this team. They're not weapons? You have weapons. and you have a good O-line. They're just not putting it together. And I don't know if Sirianni took a little bit too much of his own medicine or what the case was. But the reality is right now, this Eagles team looks like a first-round exit. This looks a lot like what the Cowboys would do in previous years. Now, as far as the Seahawks go, I think the Seahawks are in the business of playing spoiler right now. I don't know that they're a playoff team. I don't know what scenarios they'd have to do to get into the playoffs. I think it's Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's an excellent coach. The fact that Drew Lock, who didn't play an amazing game, he threw for just 208 yards and just a one touchdown all game. He wasn't amazing, but that final drive, man, he was lighting it up. He was playing really well that final drive. And it seems to me that you just give Pete Carroll anybody, and he can play a competent game. He can play a competitive game. So if in the event that the Seahawks do make the playoffs, it's a sneaky team. It's not a team I would want to face. I guess in a certain sense, I'd want to get revenge on the Seahawks for week 2, but I don't know. I don't like the combination of things. I don't like it. Don't like it. Not a fan of it. So hopefully the Seahawks can get eliminated. But either way, the Seahawks did us a favor. We have a chance to get the number 2 seed thanks to them if we win out. See how that goes. But with that, we will move on to other noteworthy things of the week. I will start quickly here. MSU landing probably the biggest transfer they've had so far. Aiden Childs, quarterback from Oregon State. He will likely be the quarterback at Michigan State for the next couple of seasons. He's following, obviously, his former head coach, Jonathan Smith. There was a point here. Childs is immediately eligible and has 3 years of eligibility remaining. I want to see. Yeah, this is the paragraph that I read that I liked. Childs, who turned 18 in September, didn't start any games for Oregon State this season, but he played well enough after enrolling in January to beat out veteran Ben Gulbranson for the backup quarterback job and push starter DJ Ungulalele for playing time. Childs, 6'3", 200 pounds, showcased a dual threat ability at Oregon State. Childs said he didn't visit any other schools. So there's a lot of things I like about this. Number one, 6'3", 200 pounds, mobile. Michigan State never had a quarterback like that. Like, our best quarterbacks are Kirk Cousins, Connor Cook, and Peyton Thorne. And Peyton Thorne wasn't even all that good. Peyton Thorne had one really good season. We've never had a mobile quarterback. We've never had a guy like this. And the other thing that I really like about this, didn't visit any other schools. He wants to be here. He wants to be under Coach Smith's offense. And that bodes really well. I think right now, the more that I think about it, Michigan State could be a little bit of a sneaky team going into next season. And I'm not saying we're going to go out there and win 10, 12 games. That's not going to happen. We're not going to go undefeated. But I think we could certainly win 7 or 8 games or 9 games. I think we could be like a really tough team to beat. And look, it would be nothing short of a miracle if we could make the playoff the first season with Jonathan Smith. I think if you make the playoff with Jonathan Smith the first year, this guy's legit. This guy's the man, right? Hopefully that's the case, and I think Aiden Childs is only going to make this season a lot more fun because the Noah Kim, Caden Hauser, Sam Levitt experience of this past season was not ideal. And I would like to actually be able to talk about my college football team throughout the season and not just have nothing but praise to say for one of my teams and nothing but angst and anger to have for another one of my teams. So that's good. Great transfer there. Love to see it. Hopefully the transfers and the recruits keep coming. I don't really do recruiting news on the show just because I don't want to be disingenuous with you guys. I don't know what most of these people do. To be perfectly frank with you, I don't really know that much about Aiden Childs outside of what I just read in that article and what I just read to you. I never watched any of his games. I never watched any of his tape. What I do know is he's following his old coach, which means he's got some level of confidence in this coach as a player. 6'3", 200 pounds, dual threat. I see those words and I'm like, okay, I'll bite. I'll see where this goes. So great news for Michigan State football. Speaking of Michigan State, it's like last week we had the intervention on Michigan State basketball. And I don't know, maybe Tom Izzo was listening because they go on, they win 2 straight. And you might think, okay, 2 straight in college basketball, who cares? Well, the first win was at LCA in Little Caesars Arena, a neutral site game in Detroit, over the number 6 ranked team in the country in Baylor. And they didn't just win. They blew them to shreds. They destroyed Baylor. I could not believe this. This was a marquee Tom Izzo Michigan State basketball win. Is going in and taking out a team that we have no business beating. Like, just absolutely shredding them for no reason. I don't know how it happened. It is legitimately a miracle. And then yesterday night, beating Oakland, that was a game obviously we were going to, I don't want to say obviously, obviously we're going to beat Oakland. Oakland is not beating us, especially not in our home. This is not happening. I'm not going to say anything about Michigan State basketball right now. I'm impressed by the win over Baylor. I'm happy over the win over Oakland. Obviously, that's what you have to do. We have Stony Brook, I believe, on Thursday night. Stony Brook, something like that. It's a game you almost like. This is a point where, okay, if you can string together, okay, you got 4 wins in a row. You kind of have my attention, but you look at the opponents, it's not really going to do much for me. But we're going to enter into late December and then early January, going into conference play. We're off to a rough start in conference play, obviously. Losing to Wisconsin and Nebraska, not a great start. Need to win those kinds of games. So hopefully these games can build us some confidence, make us feel a little bit better, get out of that slump that we managed to get ourselves into in late November, early December here, and actually have some fun college basketball to talk about. That would be great. I would love to have fun college basketball to talk about as we enter into the winter months. I would love to. As much as I love football and talking NFL and all that, I'd love to be able to talk about other things as well. So hopefully that can be the case. Speaking of basketball, actually, you know what? We'll do this last. We'll do that. We'll real quick. I gotta talk about the Red Wings because right now the Red Wings are struggling, to say the least. Red Wings this month have lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total games. They've won just 3. They've got 6, 7 points on the month. And we're obviously more than halfway through. Last night was a very, very bad loss. You get blown out to the Ducks. You nearly come back. You lose the game 4-3. So you show some life there near the end to brink it with a couple of goals. These Decembers, man, like you can't bury yourself in December, especially knowing the fact that you do still have a few more months here. But it seems like every year with this team, we just get into December and then we just start to give it up. And I thought, okay, you know what? We had an on-the-road win over Montreal. We had an on-the-road win over Buffalo. I was feeling good. I was feeling, all right, here we go. We're entering December. We're looking good. Then you lose to the Sharks in overtime. I'm like, all right, you get a point. So I'm not going to be that upset, but I don't like losing to the Sharks. Then you get blown out to the Sens. Then you get blown out to the Stars. Then you beat the Blues on the road. I'm like, all right, we that's it. We're done with the losing. Then you lose 2-1 to the Hurricanes. Then you lose 1-0 to the Flyers. Then you lose to the Ducks. And it's just at a certain point, these kind of struggles that the Red Wings seem to find themselves into, like, you can't have it. Like, and it's not like it gets that much easier. You got the Jets tomorrow night. You got the Flyers on Friday night. Then you go right on the road to Jersey. Then you got the Wild on the road the day on Wednesday, the 27th. Then you got the Predators at home, and then New Year's Eve, as a tradition, you always play. Red Wings always play on New Year's Eve. You got the Bruins at home. It's not like, I mean, if you can get, let's see, that's 3, 5, 6. If you can get 4 or 5 wins out of that, no problems from me. No problems from me at all. Especially if you can get some of those wins on the road. I mean, like, look, to be fair, you lose Dylan Larkin. I think they lost him. That was I think that was the Ottawa game that we lost Dylan Larkin. I could be wrong. I can't remember which game it was that we lost Dylan Larkin in. But you lost him that week, and it was a rough week, no doubt about it. But this team is capable of scoring. In the last couple of games, the goaltending, I mean, it was weird because you had 2 games where the goaltending was pretty good. You had Ville Husso against the Hurricanes and against the Flyers, where he was playing probably some of his best games, but the offense just wasn't clicking. So, look, hopefully Dylan Larkin, hopefully DeBrincat, Raymond, all these cats can get together and figure it out. They went through a similar skid there early in November when they went on the road into Sweden and they lost both those games. You got to figure it out because I think this team is a playoff team. I do. I don't think that this current skid that they're in is indicative of where they'll end up. But clearly, since getting Patrick Kane and since him playing, it really hasn't made that much of a positive impact. If anything, it's made more of a negative impact. And I don't know if it's complacency. I don't know if it's just he needs to gel more with the team. I don't really know. But this staff, Derek Lalonde, they got to adjust. The players got to get better, and I think they can. Right now, I'm cautiously concerned. I'm just a little concerned. I just wanted to put that out there. So hopefully they can figure it out. Now, speaking of figuring things out, ladies and gentlemen, we got to talk about the Detroit Pistons, who, when last we met, have since broken the franchise record for consecutive losses. They have lost 24 straight games. They are 2-25 on the season. Also, a fun stat: Michigan State basketball has won as many games in Little Caesars Arena this season as the Pistons have. And they've also won more games in Little Caesars Arena since November than the Pistons. So that's just a little fun factoid for you. So I decided, first of all, what's it take to get a guy fired? I mean, seriously, 24 straight games after 4 years of off seasons with Troy Weaver, and he still has a job. I mean, Tom Gores is just unserious. And you know what? I reached a little bit of a breaking point last night. So Cade Cunningham had a fantastic game, dropped a 40 bomb on the Hawks. Like he played amazingly. And the Pistons media team, and I'm not angry at them in particular, but they had the gall to post highlights of their 24th straight loss. I understand. Cade had a career game, 43 points. He's clearly that guy. He's clearly a great player. But I'm sorry, at a certain point, it's just embarrassing that you would even have the gall to tell your media team, post the highlights from this. Because if I'm the owner, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to see any postings. I don't want to see any social media. Only thing the social media should be posting is scores and ticket sales. It's the only thing they should be posting. Because it is a slap in the face to the fans who watch and to the fans who are trying to follow the team, where you're just like, hey, look at Cade scored 100 billion points after the Pistons lose their 400th game. It's like, do you not see like the crap show that you have as a team? That even when a guy goes out and scores 40 points, it doesn't matter. The team still loses. But the reason that I wanted to talk about the Pistons in particular was not just to rant about Cade and to rant about the ownership. I've done that many a times. I decided to do a little experimentation. So I went through the three main position groups. In basketball, there's for those of you who are uneducated in basketball, there's three main position groups. You got the centers, you got the guards, and you got the forwards. Now, I understand with the forwards and guards, you have shooting guards, point guards, forwards, you have the power forwards and the small forwards. For the sake of this, forwards are forwards and guards are guards. Okay? So I decided to take a look at ESPN. So ESPN has the statistical leaders by positions here. And what I did is I did a little experimentation. So let me pull up the Pistons roster. Basketball reference. Here we go. So I went through and I calculated what each of the three position groups average points per game. And then I looked at the different rankings of points per game in the league this year to tell you, if you were to combine all of our one position group, what player would you get? This is not an exact science. This isn't like, I don't want people taking this the wrong way for me to like, oh, you're saying Jalen Duren sucks. That's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you, as as a whole. This is more of an indictment on Troy Weaver and his roster construction, because this is what you have built, essentially. So starting with the centers, our centers, and I could miss a few here because on Basketball Reference, it only lists one position for them, but I included if they played multiple positions. So, like, for example, Isaiah Stewart is listed as a power forward, but he sometimes plays center, so I included him in that, and vice versa. I included him in the forwards. Anyways, so for the centers, we have Isaiah Stewart, we have Marvin Bagley, we have James Wiseman, we have Jalen Duren. Is that all of them? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I guess that is all of them. That is all our centers. I thought there was more. So combined, again, my math might not be totally correct here because I was doing this yesterday, and I don't know if they were still playing at that point, and I don't know if Basketball Reference updated. Combined, they average 9.9 points per game, which is, by the way, the most of all of our positions. So of the three main positions, of the centers, guards, and forwards, our centers average the most points, and it's less than 10 points. So that's, you know what? Where's the drop? Here, hold on. That's
not great, Bob.
That's right. It's not great, Bob. It's not great. So I decided, okay, well, who's a center that's averaging around 9.9? Okay, so there isn't a center averaging 9.9 exactly. The closest you have to that, there's actually two that are pretty close, and one of them is kind of funny. One is Derek Lively, who is averaging 8.9 points a game. He is ranked 25th among centers. And the other one that's a little bit higher than that is actually Isaiah Stewart. Isaiah Stewart is averaging 10.2 points a game this season. So you fuse all our centers together, you get somewhere between Derek Lively and Isaiah Stewart. Hold on. Where's the drop?
Not great, Bob.
That's right. Not great, Bob. Not great. Hold on. I do have the right. Yeah. Okay. For some reason, I was nervous that I didn't have the soundboard on the thing. So anyway, so moving along to our guards. You know, we've been drafting a lot of guards. You know, picking a lot of guys. We got a lot of guards on the team. So you figure things would be probably pretty good, right? So here's our guard situation, right? You got Cade, you got Killian Hayes, you got Ivy, you got Alec Burks, you got Stanley Umude, you got Joe Harris. I don't remember if I included Jared Roden, but sure, you got Jared Roden, you got Malcolm Casalone, and you got Monte Morris. Now, obviously, Monte Morris has not played a game, so I don't remember if I included him, but those are our guards. For better, somewhat. Again, some guys might play different positions. I might not have seen them. But either way, our guards are averaging 8.3 points per game, the lowest of the three main position groups. You know, it's not great, Bob. It's just not great. So let's see. What kind of player do you get here? So obviously the guard is divided into two positions, the point guard and the shooting guard. So of the point guards averaging 8.3 or close to it, so a little above it, or we'll do a little below it and a little above it. So a little below it is TJ McConnell, averaging 7.9 points per game. He is the 34th ranked point guard. A little above it would be Chris Paul, as in 100 years old Chris Paul, who is averaging 8.5 points per game. So again, you fuse all our guards together, you get some sort of combination between TJ McConnell and Chris Paul. Current Chris Paul, not like overall Chris Paul, current Chris Paul. Again, not great. Not great. Amazingly, you combine our guards, it's actually worse than Killian Hayes. That's the real impressiveness. Now, that's just among point guards. Looking at the shooting guards, 8.3 actually puts us outside of the top 50, believe it or not. 8.3 gives us exactly one Dante Exum of the Dallas Mavericks, who is averaging exactly 8.3 points a game. He is the 52nd ranked point guard, or shooting guard, I should say. Again, not great, but better than Marcus Sasser. So you could say that. Oh, I didn't even include Marcus Sasser. I just realized I totally glanced over him. But those are the guards. So now we go to the forwards. Now with the forwards, again, a few guys that play multiple positions, so I might miss a few here. Forwards, you got Asar Thompson, you got Isaiah Stewart, you got there's definitely more that I might be missing. You got Isaiah Livers, you got Kevin Knox, you got Bojan Bogdanovic, and those are all the ones that are just listed as forwards, but I'm certain that other guys have played the forward position. So you fuse them all together, you get somewhere around 9.2 points per game. So let's take a look at our forwards in the NBA. We have the small forwards. Among small forwards with 9.2 points per game, we're looking at somewhere between Naji Marshall and Sam Hauser. Sam, of course, the brother of Michigan State legend Joey Hauser. Not great. Not great stuff. That would be putting them between the 33rd and 32nd ranked small forwards. Among power forwards, you have, let's see, 9.2, was it? 9.2. That puts you at somewhere between, there's a tie just above it. So we'll actually, there's three players here. Simone Fontecchio of the Utah Jazz, who's averaging 8.5 points. Onyeka Ngankwo of the Atlanta Hawks, and Tari Eason of the Houston Rockets. So that puts you at around the 40th to 38th ranked power forward. So again, you mix all of our core guys, you mix them together. What kind of player, where would they rank in terms of points per game? They are all outside of the top 25. Some of them are outside of the top 50. Some of them are outside of the top 30. Some of them are in the top 40. If this is not an indictment on the roster construction of Troy Weaver, I can't help you. I really can't at that point. At that point, you are officially helpless as a fan, that you just are in total denial of the fact that this roster is made up of a bunch of losers, minus Cade Cunningham and a few others. It's not a good roster. So, fun note to end it on. But we now get to the part of the show where we do the picks. Now, the thing about this week's picks, so unfortunately, I actually have not heard from Seth on his picks. So we will not be announcing his picks here. I will just be announcing my picks. But everybody's still talking about it. Even if Seth doesn't have his picks in time, that's totally fine. That sounded very accusatory. I'm sorry, Seth. I'm not trying to sound accusatory. That was mean. I'm sorry. Anyways, play the music. Here we go. Classic right here. All right. So, we have Thursday Night Football. The Saints visiting the Rams. I am going to take the Rams in this one. Look, the Saints are not good. The Saints are Derek Carr. If he doesn't want to play good football, he will just not play. And the Rams, they're in that playoff picture right now. And I think they want to clinch. I think they're a sneaky team in the NFC side. I don't think they're going to go too far in the playoffs, but I also don't think they're like an awful team. They are a solid team offensively. Defense is a little questionable, but offense really solid. Saints just really don't have a whole lot going for them. So yeah, give me the Rams. And then we got some Saturday football. The Bengals visiting the rival Steelers. I am going with the Kitty Cats here. Going with the Bengals. Look, I think at this point, this is the end for Mike Tomlin. I think he's finally going to have a losing record this season. I think that streak is finally coming to an end. I know there's a lot of Steeler fans who call that the most, quote, overrated stat in all of sports. And the more that I watch the Steelers, the more that I come to kind of agree with them in a way, because the Steelers just play boring football. I mean, they just aren't good. I mean, they had a double-digit lead over the Colts that they just blew. And I get it, Mitchell Trubisky, not a good quarterback. I don't understand bringing in Mason Rudolph late in that game. I did not understand that from Tomlin, and I don't know. Bad things are going on in Pittsburgh, so give me the Kitties. All good things are going on with them. Jake Browning might be legit. We don't know. And then Saturday evening, the Bills visiting Los Angeles, taking on the Chargers. I am going to take the Bills here. I know it's a road game, but is it really, though? Because it's basically neutral site with the Chargers. They just fired their coach. They don't have a quarterback. Quentin Stick is going to continue to be the quarterback for the rest of the season. Minus his counting stats looking pretty decent against the Raiders. It was terrible. It was just not good. Turning over the ball is not good. Not good at all. They might have a little bit of a jolt given that their coach is now gone. You got an interim. They might feel better about the interim than they do about Staley, but I don't know. Give me the Bills. I think they're getting hot at the right time. I think the Bills are an overall better team than the Chargers. So yeah, give me the Bills. Up next, we have the Colts visiting the Falcons. I feel like I'm taking a lot of road teams. I'm going to take the Colts in this one. I can't give the Falcons a win here, given the fact that they didn't let the Panthers score a touchdown and they still lost that game. I don't know if it was just the weather. I mean, it's going to be in Atlanta. It's going to be in a dome. It's going to be, climate control. But the Colts, man, like, they're also playing for their playoff spot. Not just that. They're playing potentially for that division. I mean, Gardner Minshew not playing amazingly. But that Colts team is, for some reason, I don't understand it. Like, from a talent perspective, it's like they got Michael Pittman, not Mitchell Pittman, and Jonathan Taylor. I don't even know who else. I really don't. Like, they managed to figure something out in Indianapolis. And credit to their coaching staff. Credit to them figuring it out. I don't think they're gonna win that division, but they're making it interesting. So give me the Colts. Up next, the Packers visiting the Panthers in Carolina. There's no way the Packers lose this game, right? I know I'm taking a lot of the road teams this week, but the Panthers are just so bad. The fact that they won that game, they did not deserve to win that game. Like, they had every chance to lose that game, and the Falcons just couldn't close it. I think this is a game where the Packers bounce back. Jordan Love has looked rough these last couple of weeks. Not throwing the ball well. I mean, he had a few nice plays against the Bucs there, but overall not good performances, generally. So I'll take the Pack to get the win here. They're still fighting for their season. They're still fighting for the playoffs. They can't win the division anymore, but they can still make the playoffs. So give me the Pack. Up next, the Browns visiting the Texans. I am going to take the Texans here. I'm finally going to take a home team. I guess I took the Rams, but I'm going to take the Texans. I don't know if CJ Stroud will be back. I imagine he will. Actually, you know what? I take it back. I'm taking the Browns. I've never done this. Usually when I announce who I'm taking, I stick with it. You know what? I'm taking the Browns. I think that just the doubt of CJ Stroud. I don't know if CJ Stroud is going to come back, and if he does come back, I don't know. He's coming off concussion. We don't know how he's going to look. And the Browns keeping themselves alive again, fighting for their playoff spot. Like, I don't know. Joe Flacco has looked solid, and it's weird. We're living in 2023, and Joe Flacco is an NFL quarterback, and that defense is still elite. Like, I don't know. I take the Browns. The Texans played a great game last week. Case Keenum, he kept them in it, but I'm gonna take the Browns here. Up next, the Lions taking on the division rival Vikings for the first time on Christmas Eve. Give me the Lions. Look, you're starting Nick Mullins for your quarterback, Minnesota. It's not an ideal world. The Lions just coming off of a massive win. They're a win over the Vikings in particular from clinching the division. So yeah, give me the Lions here. I think they are going to be amped and ready to go on Sunday. And I think they're going to go out and win the division on Sunday. I'll say it right now. Give me the Lions. Up next, the Commanders taking on the Jets. I am going to take the Jets here. Only because this is going to be a low-scoring game. This is going to be Jets defense, which is pretty solid, minus what happened last week against the Dolphins. The Commanders, I I don't know what they're going to do with quarterback. I don't know if they're going to go with Jacoby Brissett. I think if they go with Sam Howell again, I think it's going to be a bad combination because he's a gunslinger, but that Jets defense is really good. They're going to get some turnovers if that's the case. I mean, I don't know about Zach Wilson at this point. There's no way they're going to activate Aaron Rodgers because their season is over. So just give me the Jets. I don't know. This is a terrible game. Up next, the Seahawks visiting the Titans. Is this just the week of the road dog? Give me the Seahawks. I feel dirty doing this, but the Seahawks are just the better team, right? The Titans had that game with a chance to walk it off. They start with the ball in overtime. I want to say they started with the ball in overtime, and they just blow it. I don't know. I can't trust the Titans at this point. I don't know what quarterback I'm getting out of Will Levis. Their offense is just not good. Their defense, I don't know anything about their defense. I don't know what the heck's going on in Tennessee. Give me the Seahawks. Up next, the Jaguars taking on the Buccaneers. Okay, taking the home team here. Give me the Buccaneers. The Bucs are playing solid ball. They're trying to get that home playoff spot. Baker Mayfield is playing decent ball. On the flip side, the Jacksonville Jaguars are playing not decent ball. Trevor Lawrence looks lost. Obviously, coming off of the ankle injury, it's just not good. I don't know what's going on with Trevor Lawrence. Where some weeks you'll look at him and you're like, wow, this guy is elite. This guy's great. I think this guy can go far. And then other weeks he looks like he did on Sunday night, where he just lays an egg in the home stadium. So yeah, give me the Buccaneers. Up next, the Cardinals taking on the Bears. This is a bad matchup for the Cardinals. I'm going to take the Bears here. And Justin Fields probably has one of those marquee games where he makes you think that he's a good quarterback when he's not. He's not. I don't care that he beat us the second time. He's not. He's not a good quarterback, Bears fans. Stop living in fantasy land. Give me the Bears. The Cardinals, they don't really have much going for you. This could actually be a weirdly fun game with Kyler Murray running and Justin Fields running. But neither of these guys are really all that great, and they're probably going to be replaced by the time we get to the draft. So, yeah, give me the Bears. Up next, Cowboys visiting Miami, taking on the Dolphins. You know what? I'm going to go with a bit of a I don't know if it's a wild card pick, because if you just were recency bias, you go for this one. Okay, I'm taking the Dolphins. I think that the Dolphins have, at this point, they've proven themselves as one of the elite offenses in the league. They went out and dropped a 30 bomb on an elite defense in the Jets without Tyreek Hill. You bring Tyreek Hill back, I think it's going to be a tough game for the Cowboys, especially after that rough road game that they just played against the Bills. Now, granted, weather is going to be much nicer in Miami, so they're going to feel a little bit nicer there. But I don't know. I don't like the matchup. I think this is going to be a gun show, and it could be a really high-scoring, fun game. But I just think the Dolphins, I think they're going to come away with the win here. So give me the Fins. Up next, the Patriots visiting the Broncos. I will take the Broncos in this one. And not because Russell Wilson and Sean Payton are a good combo. They're not. Clearly they're not. But because Bill Belichick and winning is the worst combination. It just doesn't happen. They had plenty of chances to win that game against Kansas City, and they did not do that. Kansas City got ahead early, and they just sat and played bad football, and they still won. So yeah, I feel sorry for the NFL Network. This is going to be this is Sunday Night Football, by the way, on NFL Network, and I'm glad it is on NFL Network because it means I don't really want to watch it. I'm just going to be like, you know what? We'll find something else that's on Sunday night. We'll do something else. We'll play a board game. That's how little I want to watch that game. So yeah, give me the Broncos. Then Christmas Day, we got a three-headed monster of matchups. The Raiders visiting the Chiefs. I am going to take the Chiefs. The Raiders, coming off of that 63-point bomb they just laid on the division rival Chargers, taking on division rival Chiefs. But the Chiefs don't lose to the Raiders. I've followed this for at least the past 5 years. The Raiders cannot beat the Chiefs. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter how good the Raiders are playing. It doesn't matter how bad the Chiefs are playing. They just can't beat the Chiefs. And they certainly can't beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. I think there's going to be a get-right game for Mahomes. And not that he has been playing bad. It's just his receivers suck. His receivers are just so bad. But, it's going to be Aiden O'Connell versus Patrick Mahomes. not a great combination, especially against that Chiefs defense. So give me the Chiefs. Then the afternoon slot, we got Giants visiting the Eagles. That's a classic Christmas matchup right here. I'm going to take the Eagles here. As rough as the Eagles have looked, this is a get-right game. The Giants don't have a quarterback. Tommy DeVito is not that guy. He's fun. He's a little eccentric. His agent is crazy. It's a little fun, but no, he's not that guy. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. So give me the Eagles. I think this is going to be a get-right game for Philly. And then finally, Monday Night Football. This is the matchup of the week. The Ravens visiting the 49ers in San Fran. I don't know why they would be anywhere else for visiting them. Give me the 49ers. Come on. This 49ers team is my Super Bowl team right now. I think outside of, obviously I would love for my Lions one. Outside of my Lions, I would love to see the 49ers win the Super Bowl. This is a team that has been competitive for at least the last 3-4 years. In competitive in the sense of going for the Super Bowl competitive. This is a team that I think has built and built and built. And as much as I love the Ravens as well, and Lamar Jackson having a great year, I think this 49ers defense is going to be something they have not seen before, because this defense is something else. And this offense, when it's clicking, when it's ready to go, it can do a lot of damage. But I think this is going to be a really close game. I don't think 49ers are going to totally run away with it. I don't think the Ravens, if they win, are going to totally run away with it. I think this is going to be an amazing game. If you don't get to watch any football this weekend, but you get to watch one game, make it be the Ravens-49ers game. So, all right, just to wrap it up, here are my picks. Saints-Rams, I'm taking the Rams. Bengals-Steelers, I am taking the Bengals. Bills-Chargers, I am taking the Bills. Colts-Falcons, I am taking the Colts. Packers-Panthers, I am taking the Packers. Browns-Texans, I am taking the Browns. Lions-Vikings, I am taking the Vikings. The Lions. Commanders-Jets, I am taking the Jets. Seahawks-Titans, I am taking the Seahawks. Jaguars-Buccaneers, I am taking the Buccaneers. Cardinals-Bears, I am taking the Bears. Cowboys-Dolphins, I am taking the Dolphins. Patriots-Broncos, I am taking the Broncos. Raiders-Chiefs, I am taking the Chiefs. Giants-Eagles, I am taking the Eagles. And Ravens-49ers, I am taking the 49ers. And those are your picks. All right, so that is where we wrap up the show. So, it was a great show. Very eventful. Many things that we talked about. Just a few show notes, I guess, going into, stuff and things. So obviously this Sunday, I alluded to it last Saturday night. I won't be broadcasting the Lions-Vikings game. I believe that'll be the only game the rest of the season I won't be broadcasting live, because we have after that Cowboys game is on December the 30th. And then after that, it's, I think it's TBD actually, technically. But it would be that following weekend. I should be available. No problem there. So assuming all that is the case, I won't be broadcasting the first Viking game. This will be this Sunday. So no live game reaction stream this Sunday. Just pointing that out in case you're like, hey, well, why isn't he broadcasting the Lions game? That's why. Not doing it this week. But we will be back again next Tuesday. That'll be the day after Christmas. So normally if it's a holiday, I do take it off. But in this particular case, because the day after, we will be live and we'll be breaking down everything. Especially, this is going to be a big week in sports. I really can't afford to take the week off. It's not like July 4th where it's July and there's not a whole lot to talk about. But this particular week, yeah, we're going to be live. So with that being said, I appreciate anyone for coming out, hanging out, and I will see you all next week. And again, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and see you guys next week, I guess. Have a great one, everybody.